don't get to see the outcome, their finished product as an adult.
Well, hello everybody. I am so excited because I have a truly special guest today on this channel. For those that don't know me, I am Dr. Ford, the NICU doc. Thank you for joining us today because we are going to be talking to Christina, who is an absolute survivor, preemie survivor. I don't want to spoil her whole story because I want you to hear it from her. So let's go ahead and get started. Christina, welcome to the channel, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ford. I'm Christina. I am a former micropreemie survivor. I weighed 1 pound, 8 ounces at 25 weeks in 1986 with a 14% chance of living.
That is truly incredible. I mean, just hearing those put together, your weight, back in the days, I mean, this was really when micropreemies didn't survive. So what is a micropreemie? So a micropreemie is essentially, we're talking about a baby that's born at less than 28 weeks. So, I would say between 4 to 6 months for, that kind of range for the really small ones up to the older ones. So that is incredible, okay? You're supposed to go 9 to 10 months. We're talking about being born 4, sometimes even up to 6 months early. So that is truly incredible because nowadays, as a neonatologist, I have the tools to be able to really help preemies out. And still, even now with really small ones, the survival, although much improved, we can get survivals of 40 to 60% in some units. We're talking about the highest level NICUs. But back then, this is really unheard of. So what you're seeing and who you're meeting today, again, I can't emphasize, is really special. So Christina, tell me, or tell us actually, why are you here? Why are you on YouTube today?
I want to share my story with people. I want to help preemie parents to let them know this happened back then, almost 40 years ago, how everything was trial and error. And there wasn't any medical technology back then, really. Everything was just a crapshoot. And I want to tell people my story, that there is still light at the end of the tunnel.
And we love that you, again, are here to share your story because, again, it is very unique. And so thank you for, taking not only the time, but for being brave as well to be able to really talk about your personal story. So I always get a lot of questions from families, and we will actually, there's a section we'll talk about, with questions. So please do stick around because I have collected some parental questions from my Instagram account, from other accounts. And so we'll definitely get to answer those questions a little bit later. But remembering some of the questions that I get normally, one parent actually asked about this. Do you remember anything about being a preemie, like when you were in the hospital?
Yes, one story.
Wow.
And yes, just one. And it was when I was in a dark room and people were looking inside the room. It was backlit with lights, bright lights. And I was looking at people, and for some reason I had this feeling that they were my family. And I saw this woman there, and she had curly hair. And even though I couldn't see their faces, I could see only their silhouettes. And I just knew that she was my mother. And I remember saying this to myself as a preemie, I hope she's mine.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's the furthest I can go back. And it turned out that that woman was indeed my mother. I just knew for some reason. It was very strange. I know it sounds crazy, but that's something that I truly cherish. And me and my mom have a very strong connection together ever since day one.
So, I always wondered because obviously we have families that come in and, we constantly tell them, sing to your babies. We actually had a musician that played the guitar all the time at the baby's side, which I think is wonderful. We obviously do have our own music therapy, as many hospitals do. But do you by any chance either remember, if a parent were singing, do you remember their songs, or do you remember sometimes if you smell something, it brings you back to the NICU, or, maybe something that you heard, when your mom was pregnant? Do you have any stories like that?
I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did. The only memory of me in the NICU was when I saw my family and my mom. That's the only thing I remember,
One
honestly.
Wonderful. I think we had talked about this before at some point. You said you're a fan of John Lennon. Let us guess.
Yes.
What do you think your mom was playing when you were pregnant, when she was pregnant with you?
Oh, she was playing the Beatles.
There
She
you
had the
go.
headphones, I guess, around her stomach, and she played the Beatles and
Okay.
all types of music too, classical as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So for all you Taylor Swift moms that want their babies to like Taylor Swift when when they're older, now you know. Play Taylor Swift while you're pregnant, and who knows? Maybe they'll really get to like it. I love it. So, excellent. Christina, I understand, and I obviously follow you on Instagram. And in fact, let's use this moment. What is, if you don't mind, what is your Instagram handle so people can follow you?
Sure, it's at CL Gagnon 30.
Wonderful. I will add it here, down in the description so you guys can follow her on Instagram. So I follow you and I've heard your stories. And obviously, I understand that you went through so much and nearly, didn't even make it. Can you talk a little bit about that feeling for you?
Sure, sure. In fact, my parents just told me this on Sunday that they thought they were going to lose me 4 times.
Wow.
And it was very, very scary for them. They were ready to call a priest and order a coffin.
Wow.
They got choked up talking about it. And I told them that it was okay, and I'm here now. It was a long time ago, and it still feels fresh to them, even almost 40 years ago. She's quite an amazing woman, my mom is, and she has a lot of stories to tell as well.
I bet she has. She sounds like an amazing woman. And I gotta add, just getting to know you, you are also an amazing woman. And
Thank
having
you.
survived, obviously, like you said, you give full, appropriately so, full blessings to your mom, but also you've gone through, so many things. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that you in your Instagram account, you show images of your scars. And obviously, there are mental scars for any difficult situation we go through. But you actually show some of your adult physical scars from back when you were a preemie.
Hmm.
First of all, I think that's amazing and truly brave of you to do that. But why do you show those scars and those images on social media?
Well, when I was younger, I was really ashamed of my scars. I was always embarrassed trying to cover them up because a lot of kids, young kids, they would whisper and point and laugh and say, your scar on your leg is disgusting. And it would be terrible. I would be ashamed of myself. And I didn't understand. I was confused and I was an angry child with all of my scars on my body. I had a lot of doctor's appointments all the time, and I was a very sick child. And I had a lot of medication and blood work. And I didn't really have a childhood. Yes, I had one, but it was always caused by having doctors and nurses in my face. And I was cheated from my childhood. And so now that I have an 8-year-old niece, I get to fully experience what childhood is like non medically. And I love that because I get a second chance. But as I grew older, I became more independent and more courageous of myself, realizing, hey, I've come a long way, and I should be proud. And I think of them as battle scars all over my body, and they all tell stories of what happened. And now that I'm older, I'm close to 40, I'm very proud of myself. And and I said to myself, you know what? It's time to show people what you've been through. If they don't like it, That's their problem, but this is for you, and not be scared anymore like I used to be, and to show people my scars, to show them the stories that are behind them and what it took to get to them. That's that.
No, I think again, you're very brave in doing that to really help out so many. And you talked about the story that you are putting out there. And I know that you actually do have a story because you actually have written a book. Tell us
Hmm.
about your book, please.
Sure. It doesn't have an agent yet. I'm still trying to look for an agent, and I'm editing my book right now. Um, I wanted to let people know that, well, it's called Don't Expect Much from This Child. And that is a direct quote from the chief neonatologist. I forgot which hospital. But he said, once he handed over me to my parents, he said, don't expect much from this child. And I was supposed to be blind in a vegetative state, locked up. I'm locked in some institution on tubes and all sorts of things, and not really have a life, not go to prom, not get married, don't get graduated from high school. It's it's sad that what my life could have been like, but I decided to take charge of my life, and I fought like hell to get here. And I want to tell people that, especially preemie parents, that back then things were very different compared to what it is now. And I want to help people, and I want to teach people about things. And I have a tremendous story that shouldn't be missed. It's something that I think will be a page turner for people, and I want to help people along the way, and I want to hear their stories as well, not just from a preemie standpoint, but disabled people as well, because I'm physically disabled. I have been my whole life, with the loss of no toes on my left foot due to gangrene when I was an infant. So there's a lot coming from my point of view, because most of it, when you get a book, it's from the parent's perspective of their child in the NICU, never from the one who went through it. Yes, the parent went through it, but not like how their baby went through it. They weren't the ones with the tubes in their mouth and the blood drawn and having tape around their mouth. They didn't have those things. And yes, it is very, very stressful and emotional.
This is why this book will be very unique. Like you said, you bring in a very unique perspective. Very few people actually know, well, what actually happens to these babies when they're grown ups, when they're adults, when they're full fledged adults and have families and might have their own kids and so on and so forth. How do they live life?
Yes, and here's the thing also, Dr. Ford, is that when that baby goes home, they either get discharged to be with their families, or very sadly they pass away, and you don't hear about that baby ever again. They're just gone. But for me, I did something different. I've been in contact with my NICU doctor, my main NICU doctor, my NICU nurse as well. And in fact, a few years ago, back in 2019, I went to my NICU doctor's retirement party, and
Wow.
I was there as a surprise. And there was about almost 200 people in that banquet hall, and I was the only former patient there. And all of those doctors in that room knew who I was. The
Wow.
last time they saw me, I was an infant. They come up to me all surprised, saying, "Oh my God, I remember you. I remember your name, and I remember your story. And I can't believe how far you've come. This is you now." They don't get to see the outcome of their finished product as an adult. I mean, yes, as a child or as a teenager, but never as a full-fledged adult. And they're more, to me, they're more than just a person with a medical degree and someone with a white coat with a clipboard signing prescriptions. They have families, and they do all sorts of hobbies as well. And I got to meet my NICU doctor's family and friends, and I get to know her on a personal level, and we talk all the time. My NICU nurse, Michelle, all the time. It's something that's unique. And I've done the March of Dimes race before, and I kept on going because I'm like, this is for the babies. This is for my tribe. This is where I came from.
So, Christina, I want to get to the questions. I know I have some families that have been asking some questions. So, if you don't mind, these will be sort of, rapid fire questions, but, feel free to answer, how you see fit.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Okay. So, here's the first question from a parent. Are there things that you cannot do now as an adult, maybe, or maybe as a child?
Yes, and that's math. I still have math disability. I can't really do the basic four. I think now that I'm older, I would be able to do it. I just gotta apply myself to it. It's hard for me to deal with banking. It's over my head. I don't think I could ever live on my own because all of that is very over my head. And when I was in high school, I only got an introduction of things. So there's a lot that's missing. My developmental age is between 18 and 40. Sometimes my mental capacity, I think, above 40, and sometimes I think I'm a teenager, like kind of like that,
I understand.
I'm not. I know I'm not a teenager,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no,
just
yeah.
saying it's like that for me in my brain, the developmental
Yeah.
age.
Right. No, no, of course. No, and like you said, there are probably some tasks where you are beyond 36. Yeah, I mean, I can tell just talking with you, you're extremely smart. So I bet you there are some tasks that you're very mature at, mentally, developmentally, and then some tasks where, you might need some support, you might need some help. And that may be, what we see. And that is what we see sometimes with premature babies that have now,
Excuse me.
grown up. Okay, let's
Yeah.
get to question number two. Have you actually walked back to your hospital?
Well, it when I was a child, I did. The building was still there. They
Oh,
knocked it off. They demolished it, and they redid it, reconstructed it. But I have been to that NICU,
mhm.
but it's completely different. Even though my doctors were still there at the time, I did see the other nurses that took care of me at the retirement party.
Oh, yes, you mentioned. Okay, that's
Yes,
wonderful.
I'm also in touch
Mhm.
with them as well too, not
That's
just
really
my
nice.
NICU doctor and Michelle. Yeah.
And that's a great thing about the NICU community. Again, there are so many families that will graduate that still, reach out to me, still send me the Christmas cards. It's so beautiful because you really do develop a bond within the NICU. It's not just about, okay, you got a sick baby, we get him better, ship, you're out. Next, you establish there's a lot of trauma that can happen within the NICU. And so those traumas sometimes really build some very strong bonds between the whole healthcare team. Okay, I have a last parent question here. Was it difficult growing up as a preemie for you?
Yes, because I was a very angry child
Mm,
because of the confusion of my humble beginnings. I was sweet. I was a
mm,
sweetheart, but I was very angry. I sometimes would pick fights with the boys. And I
mm.
was just I I was aggressive that way, but as I got older, that all stopped. But yes, the anger was still there, but no fights.
Mm.
And I worked really hard.
Did you have tutors or did you have some support from your teachers or the school? I know it was a while back, so now there's a lot more support for preemies, but were you able to get some support back then?
Yes, I did have a math tutor when I was a child, and the high school I went to was for kids with mild learning disabilities, K through 12, and it was taught the way of their disability. And we got individual attention from the teacher in small
Mm,
classes. It was a very family area, I'm sorry, oriented place, and it still is. And I really thrived in that school.
mm.
I graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA,
Wow.
graduated third in my class, got these high awards. but was on the dean's list a couple of times. And let's see here. Oh, I got honorable mention for science fair county in the school for the first time.
It's got to be tough, growing up as a preemie. But obviously, again, I look at you and you're such a smart and really, really well put together adult. So you're a great example for a lot of families. So thank you for giving us your experience. All right, I have one final question for you. What can you tell parents who are currently living with a NICU baby, either again in the NICU or at home?
Well, don't be intimidated by the doctors and nurses. They're there to help you. You can feel free to get on their level of learning medical terminology and writing everything down. My mom did that, and in fact, I still have her journal. She really was an advocate for me, and she still is. But be your baby's advocate and give them unconditional love, because that's what my parents did for me. Do the skin to skin, the kangaroo care, because I didn't have that. That was completely unknown back then. My parents were very cautious of holding me. In fact, they didn't get to hold me until a few weeks after I was born. And so I didn't get to have that type of connection with my parents like there is today. So do kangaroo care as much as you can, because even though I didn't get that with my parents, I'm still very affectionate with them today. And I'm very grateful to have them as my parents. And I know that that once your child grows up, I hope that they will be the same as well, because that baby is going through quite a lot, and they're going to need so much attention and love along the way.
For those families that, again, are living through really difficult situations with their preemie, know that there is hope. That they always say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and things will improve, and this too shall pass. All these different phrases. You are, again, a living example of that, and I appreciate that insight so much. All right, Christina, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. If you could describe, I know you can't speak for all preemies, but you can speak for a lot of them, because you are, again, a great example and a great survivor of extreme prematurity. What would you say would be one word that you could encompass, or you could say about preemies? One word that could describe preemies for you.
Okay, that would be warrior, because that's what we are. We're a bunch of little warriors fighting like crazy.
I love that. That is a perfect ending. I, really, really, I'm so glad I've gotten to know you, and really thank you so much, Christina, for coming on, for being so honest, for being you on social media. Folks, if you haven't done so already, check her out. Again, I will have her social media link below in the description. Please do check out her page, follow her, and then obviously when the book comes out, Christina, if you want, I'd be happy to talk about you when your book is ready and come out and all that. We can do another thing like this. And folks, if you really like this, let me know in the comment section that you really, really enjoyed this. Let us know, again, so Christina can feel truly validated that she's making a difference in the world, which we know she is. Please let us know so that we can actually do a part 2. And in part 2, we would be inviting her mom. So we would have Christina and Christina's mom to talk about now her experience as a mother, as a preemie mother, and what she has gone through. So, please let me know if you'd like to see that second video. We can do definitely a part 2 with mother. Thank you, Christina, for all your time, for being incredible. And I am so blessed to have gotten to know you today. And hopefully we stay in touch.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ford. I've enjoyed this interview very much, and I hope there will be a part 2.
I sure hope so too. Thank you so much, and as always, we'll see you with the next video.